Great. So we're going to start right away. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. I'm excited to see you, every one of you. Um, we've been doing this now. This is the 10th week that we've been running this, and I'm excited that we are having a platform for high quality leaders and individuals to come together and just share ideas. I'm happy that we can all congregate here once a week, 30 minutes, and just exchange intellectual side news, if you know what I mean. So last week, Cassandra uh, started something that was too appealing by the time she had to land the plane. So we didn't want her to just leave it there. She left us thirstier than when she started. So we figured, you know what, we're going to have to appeal to her to extend the bottom part of her presentation recipe, which she's going to do today. And you know what they say? I don't know if you know that, but the bottom part of a meal is the most tasty. At least that's what we say, because I'm originally from Nigeria. That is like an adage. So I'd like for you to finish up what you started. And without further ado, I'm going to round the baton off to you. You have 15 minutes. And then afterwards, we're going to do a Q&A or a comment. One or two people are going to make a comment, and then we can round off. Thank you so much for those who are just getting into the room right now. I see you, Ali. Um, I see you, Yeko. Thank you for coming to the room, brother. I appreciate. And Celsia is supposed to be here now, but she's connected. All right, I'm going to make you the host right away.
Perfect.
Just give me a second. All right, there you go.
Awesome. Okay, so I need to just, alrighty. So welcome everyone. And so this is part 2 of what was last week, what I felt was our journey. And I thought I landed perfectly well, but clearly the plane still had a lot of fuel in it. So I'm gonna run through the first few slides fairly quickly. I didn't try and adapt anything. So for those of you that missed last week, I'm just going to give you a bit of a catch up, but then get to sort of the bottom part of the pot, as Cece said, so we can spend quite a bit of time unpacking. What we ended off with was the leadership pyramid, which is an extract out of a concept called authentic leadership. So this afternoon, just in terms of my timing, I just want to put on my timer to make sure I'm on track. So there's sort of 3 concepts today that we're going to look at. And the first one is around the world of tomorrow, the challenges, demands, and requirements of leaders, and how fundamentally that is different today. And challenge thinking, is it different today to what it was 5, 10, 15 years ago? What are those challenges? But when looking at those challenges, how are we able to develop the muscles to become future fit leaders? To be able to navigate levels of uncertainty and challenges in a much more comfortable manner, and thereafter look at the leadership journey. And our emphasis we placed on it last week was around lifelong learning and how learning needs to be part of a vocabulary, a discipline, a construct of all leaders, because you never ever arrive as a leader. Unless someone tells me someone has, I don't believe that to be true. So as we develop as leaders, we always have to continuously be tweaking, adjusting, reflecting, and ensuring that we keep building ourselves in terms of our character as we move forward. So we started off with a very fun activity last week, and we looked at what was in the opinion of the audience that was here, what are some of the challenges and demands on leaders today? And if you reflect in your own role as a leader, I'm sure there's more than one element here that you're going to relate to. And things like self-management, transparency, being understood or often being misunderstood as a leader is quite a common challenge. Family, being able to do balance between family, work, and social demands. Those are some of the common themes that we all sit with as we navigate our daily tasks and activities as leaders in an organization. But we don't believe, or at least what we've agreed as a team here last week in the session, is that we don't believe those challenges are any different today than what they were for veteran leaders that we might find are about to retire. So leadership challenges have never really changed or evolved. What has fundamentally changed, if you want to call it change, but probably more just evolve, is that the context of those challenges are fundamentally what is different, right? So we are in 2021 now, and the way in which we lead in 2021 would not have been the same in 2000, the year 2000. Our challenges were the same. The context, however, would be different. And so for masterful leaders, there's sort of three fundamental elements masterful leaders do understand when it comes to leadership evolvement as organizations evolve. And that is really number one, an in-depth understanding of the context in which organizations operate. And 2021 is a very real example of context being changed by no one's cleverness. COVID happened and organizations needed to find itself adapting to their new context. How do we then look at a good balance between leadership and the context of an organization? And we have to actually admit that leadership and organizations cannot separate itself from the context. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So 2020, and I think this is going to become a case study for leadership development for years to come, how in 2020, organizations' purpose, values, missions, their plans remained constant, but leaders were forced to go and look at how do we engage with this new context now? So if we're not able to operate at full capacity, if we're not able to utilize our venues the way we want to, we can't travel, how do I still fulfill the purpose of my company or my purpose as a leader within this new context? Right, which led us to ask the question, how do we become future fit? There's no perfect recipe or formula we can drink, but these are a couple of key principles that I believe as leaders we can develop in order to build muscle to deal with change, because that's not going away. And one of the things as a future fit leader is we need to understand that our daily leadership demands fluctuate. So being reminded to go and pick up milk on your way home as you pick up the kids could be part of a personal challenge whilst you're processing emails that you still need to send when you get home, right? So it's being able to balance all of those things at different levels every day. But you're only able to do that if you really have a very good understanding of who you are as an individual. And what I noted last week is that your role as a leader doesn't necessarily define who you are. You as the individual defines the role that you fulfill as a leader. And I think it's quite important as well is that that role isn't something that you're going to hold on to for the next 10, 15, 20 years. That role even changes. But you as the individual will continuously grow as you try and deal with your daily demands. However, you're not an island. And so as the leader being able to manage their own tasks, how do I interact with others on an interpersonal team, business unit level in a very meaningful and productive way on a day-to-day basis? So when we ended off at this particular component, I have asked the audience last week to really just pause and reflect on how well do you understand yourself as a leader? And this is not really just about getting feedback or feed forward, as Jaco explained to us last week. It is really looking at a more in-depth understanding of who you are and what are some of the things that as you've grown through the ranks or grown as an individual that influences your day-to-day decision-making, your behavior, your manner in which you deal with conflict even within your teams. And this is sort of the meaty bit that we got to last week, that before I share it, and I know I've sped through the first few slides quite quickly, is there anybody that has any questions before I move on?
I love what you said about understanding who you are as individuals and that roles do not define the leader, rather it's the opposite.
100%.
I love that. In fact, I'm actually typing that in the chat box.
Yeah, awesome. I don't know if there's any other comments from anyone quickly.
Yeah, just so sorry on that, Cassandra. Thank you. Fantastic wording. Yeah, just to add my experience today is I think emotional EQ, as we call it, is paramount importance in today's business sector, especially for leadership. I think you need personality and conflict management is a critical part of your leadership journey. As we know, social media, information overload, etc., has changed the landscape substantially versus our predecessors or peers. And I think that's something that you always have to consider.
Absolutely. And as much as it's emotional intelligence, Yako, I agree. There's also the part around the self-awareness. So emotionally intelligent leaders are highly self-aware of just how they look, smile, walk, and the impact that has on others. I sometimes think we forget that we always has the spotlight on us. People are able to pick up our energy. They're able to feed off that. And before you even open your mouth, someone would go like, is that the manager? What about that person told you that's potentially the leader? So it's about conduct. And so 100% spot on. Thank you for that contribution. So we looked at last week, and this one is specifically for Ali. So he is here somewhere. I can't see everyone's faces. But the last part, cool, was the mathematician part. I know you gave us a physics example, but I did include like a bit of a maths example here for you at the end, which says around our level of work times the contextual complexity in which we're obviously operating. Can only be achieved through people. And I think that's quite important to understand. We cannot achieve our plans, our strategic goals by ourselves. There's just absolutely no way. And what we then moved on to, and this is the part that everybody was like, can you talk about it for much longer? Was the journey of lifelong learning. And guys, please let me know. I've got research around this that I'm happy to share with you. So this is not my model. I haven't come up with this by myself, but it is a part of a program we run called Authentic Leadership. And this is the pyramid of positive leadership. So I want to take you through the top section of it and move its way down, because that's often in organizations, it's very top heavy. But if you look at sort of 3 layers of leadership development, the top section implies that that is the professional leader within an organization. And the little write-up on the sides is for me very true. We land roles or get promoted in roles based on our technical or business acumen. So you've got certain credentials and you seem to have the ability to be able to land a job, which is true. Once you're within that role, though, very quickly you realize, do I have the necessary skill to now manage the people around me to achieve what I need to achieve as the leader? Because the leader is not doing any of the strategic plans or deliverables by themselves, right? So that middle section is really the skills that, and I think to Jaco's point, emotional intelligence also should fit in there. But what skills do I need as the leader? And interpersonal replies to between 2 people, but it can also imply between a leader and a team. So what skills do I need to inspire, motivate, drive, coach, literally influence others to help me to achieve the deliverables that I need to achieve? And those are skills, guys, that not everyone's born with, but there are definitely things that can be developed. It's something that it's not necessarily just taught in schools, but it's things that you develop and tweak over time until you find your own flavor as to how you're doing influencing versus how CC influences is 2 different things. But the only way in which you can build those skills and become aware of the skills gaps you have is if you really look at personal leadership, which is the foundation. And I think most importantly, why it's at the bottom. Because a strong foundation means that I'm able to move in between interpersonal leadership and personal leadership quite comfortably. And a lot of the development sits at the bottom, guys. And that development can take lots of different forms. So if you are now at the age of, and I don't know how old everyone is, but nobody's saying go back to university. There's a place for academia. But personal leadership can also be a network like this as to how do I develop, once I've become aware of a gap that I have, where do I tap into that network to get fed? Do I read a book? Do I do podcasting that I listen to? Those are all forms of being able to be fed as a leader to help close gaps that you've become aware of. So you cannot lead others until you really understand how to lead yourself. And that demonstration of being able to set an example will allow others to be able to go, whoa, I've realized that's what they've done. How did you close that gap? Tell me more. And through your example, your team members are going to be able to learn that this is the way of lifelong learning. I continuously have to grow and develop. So in terms of the personal leadership part, I want to give you guys two key things that for me, I feel can help you as a point of departure. And it's two additional models, which really, the first one looks at, and you all probably know this, the whole why did the Titanic sink? Because not everybody could really understand that it was this total big iceberg, which is relevant also to look at in terms of individuals or leaders, right? Everything that people see is the top part of sort of the iceberg. I'm judging you based on your behavior. I have a perception about your behavior, so I think I understand where you come from. But you don't really know what is actually feeding that behavior, which sits internal. So only you as the leader know what attitude you have towards things, your values, your beliefs, your personal biases feeds your behavior. If you've had a past experience, and I can give you guys examples for days, working in finance where old leaders never dealt with conflict. And that was the one attitude that I took on, that I said, if I ever get into a leadership role, I will learn how to deal with conflict constructively. So when you see my behavior, I am very comfortable to deal with conflict. Really, I am. But I also realize others veer away from it because of past experiences they may have had. So for me, this is a reflection tool to be able to look at, if someone's judged my behavior and you feel that that wasn't correct, what is it about your behavior that could be fed by a past experience? Another thing that you won't see on here is culture, religion, age, personality. Those are all things that are unseen, but that does actually come across in your behavior. And the very top part sort of that iceberg is the results. So obviously dealing with conflict in a non-constructive way, the impact on that could be literally detrimental to your team, or to a team member being able to understand their selves well. So this is just $3.99, but this is the part that I really want to get to. And I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Johari window. Can I get a yes or?
Never heard.
Oh, there's a me. Francesca said yes. So this is a model. And again, guys, I think it's so valuable if you have to go and do it for yourself. I think my time's up. Do it for yourself as well as your team. But this is a self-reflection tool. So if I can quickly talk you, if I can have another 3 minutes, CC, I'll just quickly talk everyone through this model. So
Okay.
top part of the pyramid, so the red sort of area. The things that's within that area is things that you know about yourself, but comfortably others know about you as well. So race, gender, your religion, possibly your age. Those are things that you're very comfortable to share when you meet people. Do you smoke? Yes, no. That's easy information that you share. The green section is things that you know about yourself, but others do not. Example, sexual orientation. Am I divorced? Did I have a bad breakup? I'm actually on the border of financial bankruptcy. You don't necessarily know that, but I know that. And those are things that potentially influence my behavior. So you have it has triggers that specifically hidden sort of bottom area. One's blind area, which is not known to you, but known to others, is things that you do that you're not even aware of. So it's sort of unconscious about it. And chewing gum, saying the word clicking your pen, playing with your hair, whatever. Unless someone gives you feedback, you then become aware. And the moment someone gives you feedback, that new knowledge now moves into an open area, which means you know it, and so does others, right? The last part, it's not known to you, but it's also not known to others. And the beauty in that last area is really, for me, is your potential. It's things that you still need to discover about yourself that you have never really realized that you're able to achieve. So a book that I've read recently, and it's a lady called Shonda Rhimes that wrote things like Grey's Anatomy and a whole lot of other things. She spoke about the book called The Year of Yes. And that was really for her to be able to develop her unknown area. She never said no to any opportunity. She never said no when someone invited her out. She just said yes, because she put herself in uncomfortable and things that she would not normally do to go and develop this whole, so what is it that I didn't know I could do? But it's really how you want to look at it. And this for me is a tool that you can use with your kids, with your teams. Again, be very sensitive around what you allow people to share, because it's that open area. So people are going to share the things that they want to help obviously build teams. And through building teams, and the more we share, and the more we make ourselves vulnerable as leaders, our team members are going to become more comfortable to share more about themselves. And true transformation will happen, which is where I want to leave you guys with today. And so in closing, beautiful quote from Bonang Mohali. He was the head of Business Leadership SA, which I think was about 2 years ago. And he said transformation means together we are creating a future that has no resemblance to the past. So the way in which we manage today can have no reflection to what we did yesterday. Forgive yourselves, shake it off, move on, and the next day will only get better. So that is me in a nutshell. I'm over and out. Any questions?
Great. I'm excited about your presentation today, Cassandra. I loved it. So we've got just 5 minutes. So anybody, please make comments. I need people to make comments, but please, let's leave it. Can you make a comment in 30 seconds? 30-second comments or questions, or so that we can just stick to time. Who's going to go for it? Who's got a 30-minute self-control?
I am just amazed. I am just amazed. Thank you very much. You did terrific. You did very well, you know. I left my comment there in the group. Yeah, I left my comment, you know. I felt like I was at church, you know, and a great preacher was preaching to me, you know. Great. Thank you very much. I feel revived. Really great content, great knowledge. Thank you very much. You should be proud of yourself.
Thank you, Francesco.
Ali says, awesome presentation. Cassandra, thank you.
Great.
Debbie says, so informative. Thank you. Yaku says, amazing presentation. Thanks for sharing this great content. Train yourself to be future fit to make yourself future proof.
Absolutely. Love it.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Should actually be put on a poster. That's like a really cool quote.
And Debbie is still saying yes to uncomfortableness of growth.
Absolutely.
Love
I
it.
agree. Guys, if you want, and it's not part of the slide deck, but I can send you the research paper for authentic leadership if you want, just so that you can read it in your own time.
Yeah.
I think that really will give some nice insights that you can take away. And so it's a use or lose.
Great. So maybe you can just email it to me, because I'm going to send out an email to all of the participants and invitees today, so that we can all have the content materials. So in closing, thank you so much everyone for being here. I really do appreciate. Thank you, Cassandra, once again for spilling your bit of insights with us. We appreciate it. Next week, here's an unfortunate thing. I haven't been able to confirm a speaker for next week. All the speaker lineups that I had were very much tentative in nature. So they said to me, I'll get back to you, I'll get back to you. No one ever did. So I figured we're going to do something interesting next week. Let us have a meet and greet next week. It's an open forum we're going to have next Friday, because I figured out that a lot of us here don't even know what we do in detail, so to speak, right? Jaco runs Birdline Africa together with Debbie and Ali and Marion. But that's just about what we know. It's Birdline Africa. But I'd like for Jaco to share even more. What is Birdline Africa? What do you do? And what are you guys currently doing right now? So that if there's any way we can support you and get on board of what you're doing, we can all jump in. Because this is also about building a community, building a network of leaders that you have a personal acquaintance with. And also Juliet, we also want to hear from Juliet and know what Juliet does and how Juliet functions, you know? I know Ali is together with Yako. I know Debbie's with Yako. I know Celsia is with Francisco. I'm not sure who has this HMSACUISSA.
That's Emmanuel Gilda.
Ah, and Joda, great. We know Joda is with Francisco as well. So, but we want to understand it, and we know Cassandra obviously is with Omni HR. We want to know more about what you do. So next week is a meet and greet, and I'm hoping that we'll just come together and just introduce ourselves afresh and just say what we do and, talk about ourselves on a personal level, so that
we're doing it over drinks.
Well, if you can make your drinks and pour a sip for me virtually, I'd appreciate it.
But I know Ellie might be fasting. Ellie might be fasting, but
yeah. That's true. But what do you think about
but
it,
I'm,
guys?
I'm cool, but
yes, that's great.
Is it okay, everyone? Okay, I have 2 yeses.
Yeah.
Anyone? Great. One of the interesting things about this platform is that we don't just want to learn, we also want to know you, we also want to connect. And I feel like there's a beauty at the intersection of learning from one another, connecting with one another, knowing or getting acquainted with one another, and also possibly doing business together with one another. I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't do business together. We're all business leaders here. We run businesses, and there are things we can definitely collaborate on together. Don't you think so? Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming here today. Juliet, we didn't get a Juliet, can you say something for 20 seconds? Juliet, 20 seconds. We haven't heard anything from you.
Okay. Good afternoon. I actually enjoyed the class. It's an amazing class. And when she talked about developing self-awareness, beliefs, values, attitude, behavior, and results, I was just going through the time I was trying to pick up those things. And when you have your belief, you can actually know what you value and you bring up the attitude to keep the behavior in order to influence others to what you believe in and to go the path you're going. It's very necessary to have a good, sound, healthy belief system because that's the only thing that can stand when any other challenge comes up to attack what you think or what you know you're doing, because sometimes you can just see yourself doubting. But when there's a strong belief system and you beat yourself up for it when you were all alone, going ahead and for others to follow up, you can always stand anything.
Right. So belief systems are crucial. Lovely. All right, guys, we've come to the end of it. It's 3:30. At least that's what it is on my phone. I know some people have an earlier clocker. I'll see you all next week, Friday. Same place, same station.
Same time.
Same time. Thank you so much, Cassandra. Thank you, Francisco. Thank you, Yaku. Thank you, Ali. I appreciate your presence. Thanks, Juliet.
Thanks, everyone. Once again,
thank you so much.
daily and time.
Thanks, Debbie. Thank you, Emmanuel Joda. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here. Cassandra, I'm going to send you a Zoom just for 5 or 10 minutes after conversation. I'm going to send you right now with the email. Thank you so much, guys.
Yes, guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.